Hi, everybody. Sky Kirshner here. I was checking my email on the phone. My wife and I were gardening today, and I was taking some downtime. So I was checking my phone, and I got a reminder to do the MI practice, the daily drill. So I just sat down for a few minutes and did it. And I thought I'd share the results because it was pretty good, and it might be instructive for some folks who are uh, struggling with the MI practice and with the daily drill. So let me show you sort of how it works a little bit, and then show you this dialogue that I just completed. So I'm going to share my screen, and here we are in the MI. So one advantage to logging in is that you get to see the whole uh, everything that's available to you on the left-hand side here. So we've got the daily drill, we've got all the different drills. Today's Saturday, July 18th, and I just completed the drill with Abe. So if you go down, you see a number of things here that are related to your progress, to the dashboard workshops that are available. And here's my practices. So I'm clicking on my practices, and this shows all the different practices that I've done. Apparently, I've done 22, 21. I've asked Alex 62 questions, and I've shared or made comments on other people's 5 times. So let's take a look at how I did here with Abe and the daily drill for today, July 18th. I had 8 exchanges. So Abe sits down and across from me and he says, I can't keep feeling this way. Now, the prompt says, what's your reflection? And the prompt is like that because it's trying to encourage you to not ask a question here. And I'm sure that it would be very tempting for a number of people to say, can't stop feeling what way? Or what do you mean? Um, so in MI, or at least as I was doing this, so I had 8 exchanges. And my usual goal when I'm doing it for real, as a real practice, is I'm trying to limit myself to reflections only. So no questions. Why? Because reflections, a good empathic reflection creates safety. Questions, not so much, might create a problem. And the question might be more about me and what I want to hear rather than what the client wants to say to me. So I tend to steer away when I'm practicing for real and not just testing different elements of the MI and the AI. But I was doing this one for real. So what's your reflection now? Just thinking about this, if we think about the 4 processes of MI, and here we have them in an American baseball diamond, I'm trying to engage and connect. So I don't really need a question to engage and connect. I just want to create as much safety as possible and see what we can do. So my only goal here, as I've described it for some of you, is I just want to create safety. I want to reduce resistance and create safety so that they're on a seesaw. It's an inverse relationship. The more resistance goes down, the more safety goes up. So let's take a look. And you might think about, well, what did you do if you did this practice? Or what would you do if you did this practice? So here we are. I can't keep feeling this way, he says. Now, if I just stay empathically with what he's saying, he's describing some kind of pain, right? Something's happening that he doesn't like. you could say this is the beginning of change talk. You could say this is the wisdom of his unconscious, knowing that something he's been doing isn't working for him. So in motivational interviewing, we would call that the cost of the status quo. There's some kind of cost that the status quo is costing him. We have no idea what the specifics are. I had no idea, right? I generated this scenario, but I had done it several days before. I generated several days, and I couldn't remember. So I had no information, no guesses what it was. But what do I say to him? I say, you're feeling torn about something. See, I'm bringing empathy for the idea of feeling torn, right? I can't keep feeling this way. He's indicating that he's mulling something over. So I'm going to go with that. I could have said, you're mulling something over, but I needed more pain in it. So torn is better than, oh, I can't decide whether strawberry or raspberry. But feeling torn, there's an element of this that's painful for him. You're feeling torn about something. Yeah, I guess. Now, do we have the resistance cliff? I thought we did. Oh, let me pause here and see what happened to the resistance cliff. Okay, I'm back. Made some changes to the reporting, so let's take a look at those changes here as we've got them. So yeah, the client says, I can't keep feeling this way. I say, you're feeling torn about something. And his response indicates that his resistance goes down. He starts at a 5 in resistance, and he starts at a 5 because he's already in contemplation. He knows something's wrong. A harder client would say, I don't know why everybody's on my back. I'm doing just fine. So that would probably be like an 8 or 9 starting off as resistance. But because he's ambivalent, I can't keep feeling this way. He's already aware of the pain that he's putting himself in. We've got, he's starting off at 5 basically. And here, my comment that empathic reflection moves him from a 3 to a 10, which is good. We want that to go down, right? I don't know. The drinking takes the edge off, but then, see, here's ambivalence. The drinking helps, but then it messes everything else up, right? It's good and it's bad. My wife won't even look at me some mornings. So I'm going to reflect back the ambivalence about this situation. Sounds like the drinking helps with the pain and at the same time creates problems in your marriage, right? Just a empathic reflection of both sides of his ambivalence. He nods. Yeah, that's the thing, right? It works for like an hour, maybe 2, and then I'm worse off than when I started. This is so classic. Now look at this. Resistance is gone. In 2 moves, resistance is gone from a 5 to a 1, which is fantastic, right? We want the safety to go up. We want the resistance to go down as quickly as possible. Now, you can't see it here because this is a static report. Next time I do one of these, I'll do one in real time so you can see what happens. But when resistance hits 1, there's a little celebration. I forget whether you get confetti or you get fireworks, but you get one of those too. So you will have a visceral recognition. And I just got this email from Karine Dufour in Quebec. And Karine says, I just noticed that there are fireworks and the like, which would be the confetti, that they appear to signal when change talk appears and also when resistance goes down. And that's absolutely fantastic. Merci beaucoup, Karine. I'm so glad you like that. Yeah, it's very cool. I'm working on this every day to make it more fun and more usable. So here we go. We've got resistance down to 1. Now, that's great. That's a signal to us. We've created safety. Now we could start looking for change talk. Now that safety is up, resistance is down, we can start, and you see, we haven't evoked any change talk yet. It would be too soon. So now I'm going to start moving in a change talk direction. I'm going to add directionality rather than, right, so the drinking helps, but it also hurts. The drinking helps and it also hurts. Now I'm going to say, so it helps at first, but then it makes matters worse. So I'm going to tip it a little bit based on what he said. I'm worse off than when I started. So I'm just reflecting back his awareness of whether this is a good thing in his life or not. Yeah, so it makes matters worse. It helps him first, it makes matters worse. It's just reflecting back to him. Yeah, it's, oh, and by the way, why am I showing this to you? Let's go up to the top. I got a 5 out of 5, right? That doesn't happen very often. So 5 overall is the highest numeric score you can get using this. How did I do that? Well, in the daily drill, you have 8 initial reflections, and then you can do 8 more. So I'm just showing you the first 8. Out of those 8, I asked 0 questions. That was my goal. I didn't want to ask any questions. That's usually always my goal. So the ratio is 8 to 0. That's an impossible ratio, but yeah, so 8 reflections to 0 questions. That's pretty good. Now, 5 complex reflections out of the 8. That's even better. So my reflections are complex. They're adding directionality. AIDS resistance went 5 out of 10. And just to show you, it's going to give you a darn cat assessment. Desirability, reason, need. How did I do in these 8 interactions? Now I've got 6 left. Evoking desirability, reasons, need. So let's take a look at that. So it helps at first, but then it makes things worse. Yeah, it's like for a couple of hours. I'm not thinking about my back. So he's got some back pain apparently, and he uses drinking to help him forget about the pain. But then by morning, she won't talk to me. So he's basically saying, I'm trying to decide the pain in my marriage, is that better or worse than the pain in my back? Because if my wife's not talking to me, and now he says, she won't talk to me, and I'm still hurting anyway. So I didn't even get what I was after. This is such a great sentence, right? Nobody gets addicted to touching a hot stove. Nobody gets addicted to a behavior if there isn't some kind of reward, especially early on. Later on, with an addiction, you're probably just trying to keep away from withdrawal symptoms. But early on, there's going to be some reward. So the reward is he doesn't think about his back. The downside is his wife is mad at him and he's still hurting anyway. So I didn't even get what I was after. This is great self-awareness on his part. This is becoming, in darn cat change talk language, a reason for not doing it anymore, right? That sounds like a good reason to not keep doing this. So here's my reflection. It's almost like there's a certain painful consequence to what you're doing now that outweighs whatever benefit you get short term. Again, holding the mirror up to what he just said, he's giving me preliminary change talk. I'm just going to keep holding that up to see what happens when he hears it says back to him. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. The drinking, it's supposed to help, but it doesn't. Not really. Now, his executive functioning, his prefrontal cortex is coming on online, right? That's a result of the brain feeling safe. If he was feeling amygdala activated, if he was feeling under threat by me, he wouldn't be able to put that sentence together. He would just try to get out of the conversation. But here, because he feels like I'm walking with him, the drinking's supposed to help, but it doesn't, not really. Those are her words, his words. By the time I wake up the next day, I've got my back pain. Now I have shame and she's mad at me. It didn't solve anything. And here, the program gave me confetti, I think. First, change talk emerges. This is change talk. What kind of change talk? It's a reason for not doing it. Let's go up here and see. Here's a reason. I can see it clear as day where this ends up. That's a strong reason to not keep doing what he's doing. Let's keep going. Okay, so I get a green glyph. We call these glyphs. I get a green pill. Uh, uh, yeah, some change talk. Now I'm going to keep evoking this. I want more. The more change talk the client says, the more likely they are to change. Yeah, you tell yourself it's going to help. And when you step back and look at the consequences, you're in a hole that's even deeper. And you'd like to figure out something else that would work better. Now, that last part of the sentence is it's a guess of what I think is true, even though he hasn't said it. So the thing that makes this a complex reflection is you'd like to figure out something else that would work better. Now, I could have done that in a question. I could have said, would you like to figure out something else that would work better? But the question creates a little distance because it suggests that it isn't obvious that that's what he's saying. So the complex reflection is better because it indicates I am with you on an intuitive level. You'd like to, but let's see what he says, because he might say, no, right? He could start arguing with me. That's not happening here. Resistance stays down. He says, yeah, I mean, I see it happening. I can't seem to, I don't know how to stop the cycle. I don't know how to stop the cycle. What is that in terms of change talk? Desire, ability, reasons, or need. That has to do with ability. He's not sure how to do it. He doesn't know if he can stop. That's ability. That's confidence. He doesn't have much. It's like I'm watching myself do it and I can't get out of my own way. Another way to say that is I have reasons, I have good reasons to not keep doing it, but I keep doing it for some reason. It's the human condition, right? So we see here, you might not, okay, let me show you one more thing with this because you can change. I usually keep it in dark mode, but you just up here, you can change the whole thing to light mode. So change talk going up. Here we've got change talk going down. Resistance is still down, right? He still feels me with him. But when he says, I can't stop doing it, that's what we would call sustained talk. I didn't particularly, it's just where he's at. I didn't evoke it or provoke it from him. He's just telling me where he's at. And that's why we call it up here an assessment of change talk, right? He has desire. I really want to. He has reasons. I can see it as clear as day. He's about to tell us his need, which is his urgency for change. But under ability, he doesn't have a lot. This is common with drinking, drugs, alcohol, caffeine. I know it's not the best thing for me. I can't seem to stop. Folks who have tried and failed frequently are low on ability. Their sense of ability has high sustain instead of high change talk. Okay, let's go back. I'm going to switch it back just because it's easier on my eyes. All right, so here we've got change talk going down. Yeah, You'd like to get out of your own way if you could. So I'm reflecting back his sustain. You know, uh, if I was taking a different approach, like a hard love approach, a tough love approach, I might say, well, maybe you haven't really tried. What would happen if I did that, right? You would imagine resistance would go up. That would be disrespectful of me. Oh, yeah, look, yeah, have you really tried? Right. So no, I'm gonna step into his worldview. You'd like to get out of your own way if you could, but you're not sure you can. So I'm seeding the idea that you could, and I'm reflecting back, you're not sure you can. Now here I'm just being completely completely explicit here because you have reasons to change. That's the R and darn cat, but you're not sure how confident you are. Confidence and ability are the same thing. That you are that you could actually do it. Leans forward. Yeah. That now his jaw tightening here. What's happening? It's not discord with me. He's not mad at me that I've named something that's true. Sometimes that happens. What's happening is he's wrestling within himself. We've kind of created a little psychological crisis. The discrepancy between what his prefrontal cortex knows and his actions is becoming apparent. And it's got to be sort of painful for him to see this, that he's kind of, his life is a little out of control. And in addiction work we might call this hitting the wall. I had to hit the wall 100 times before I was ready to stop, right? So when you hit the wall, it's like I thought this was going to work, but it didn't. It didn't get me to where I wanted to go. I kept hitting the wall. So there might be some frustration, some healthy frustration with himself. Sometimes in psychodynamics, we might call this an internal crisis. And this is a good thing because he's wrestling within himself. Yeah, I really want to. I really do. That's desire, right? I really want to, but it's been going on so long. I don't know if I've got it in me anymore to actually break it. Right. So I really want to. I can see that it's hurting me, but I'm not sure I can. Now, so how does that get stored? So there's a change talk of desire. If I wanted to use a question here, I could say, yeah, what inside you is telling you that you really want to? Or I could say, yeah, what do you think you would lose that would be important to you if you didn't make this change? But because I've only got eight interactions here, I'm just going to keep going. I'm not going to use a question. And I'm going to try to flesh out more of the DARN. Now we've got desire, we've got reasons. He's telling us he's low on ability. I can't get out of my own way. What's left? Well, we haven't explored need. Need in this model means urgency. It means basically, is this so painful for you that you're ready to do something about it right now? Or do you think you could keep going? Do you think your wife would tolerate this behavior for another 5 or 10 years? Right? So that's the meaning of need or urgency. So let's see where we are here. I really want to. I don't know if I've got it in anymore to break it. Now, if we can increase his sense of urgency, he might be willing to try again. The World Cup is happening this week. The World Cup is happening this week, or like a basketball game, like anytime when the time there's only 5 minutes left, or there's only 15 seconds left, and 6 points behind in basketball, or you're a goal, you need one goal, you need two goals. If there's a sense of urgency, people, and it's important to them, people will step up. So the question here is he willing to step up, seeing everything that he sees? And so I say this to try to evoke his sense of need or urgency. Would you like to have the desire you would like to have the desire, you have the reasons, you're not sure if you're able. This is kind of like a summary of the darn cat. I've got the darn cat in my mind. Would you like now? I think it's there's like I stop myself halfway. You have the desire, you have the reasons, you're not sure if you're able to. And now I'm going to evoke the need. And it sounds like you're sort of wondering how long you can keep going at this level before something big changes for the worse. Do you see that? I'm just clicking it off. You and I can see this because we know here's the D, desire. You have the desire. You have the reasons. You're not sure if you have the ability. And now I'm going for the need. I could have used a question. I could have said at the end here, how long do you think you can keep going before something's going to break? But because I'm trying to force myself to use a reflection, I say to him, it sounds like you're sort of wondering how long you can keep going at this level. I could have just said, how long do you think you can keep going at this level? If I had a closed-ended question, I could have said, do you think you can keep going at this level indefinitely? There might be a little judgment in that, right? That's kind of like Dr. Phil, how's that working for you? Yeah, it's actually not a bad question, but the tone of voice makes a difference. But I'd prefer to evoke it with an empathic reflection. So he hasn't said, I'm wondering how long I can keep going. So I'm kind of guessing at that. He keeps saying his jaw keeps tightening. I don't know how much more his jaw can tighten here. He exhales slowly, so we get a sigh. Ah, that's a great sign. I love it when the client sighs. He says, yeah, I mean, that's the thing that keeps me up at night. Honestly, I don't know how much longer I can do this before I lose her. See, he's making that connection to the consequence of his action. Or before the kids just, and then he dot, 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 he can't even say. So you can see that his wife, his kids are important to him. He can't even finish this sentence before my kids just, oh, he does, stop asking me to show up, right? He doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to alienate his kids. That's what scares me more than the pain. Ah, ah. If we can help him stay in this realistic fear, it's like, I'm afraid I'm going to lose the championship if we don't get 3 more baskets. We're going to lose the championship if we don't get another goal. Come on, guys, let's do it. Right? We're going to lose the Super Bowl if we don't take the ball down there and score again. Right? I don't want that to happen. Right? So resistance is still down. We've evoked change talk, and this is the proof of it because he's saying, right, the clock is ticking. I don't know how much longer she'll have patience. The kids will just give up. So I'm going to reflect that back. The thought of losing your wife and losing your family, losing your kids. See, I'm stacking it up, right? I want to put it right under his nose so he gets the full impact of what he's saying. I wouldn't just say the thought of your family or the thought of losing your wife, the thought of losing your kids. that would be a terrible consequence. And you can see that it's likely if you keep going in the direction you're going, right? You can see that, right? His jaw tightens again. He's going to have to see his dentist after this. Yeah, I know. That's what makes it so hard. I can see it clear as day where this ends up. And I hate that I keep doing it anyway. Like I'm choosing the bottle over them, and I don't want to be that guy. It's violating my sense of who I am. Now, here's a tricky part. If he starts hating himself too much, the shame might clobber him into inaction. Like, I'm helpless. What's the use? I'm just a loser. That would not be healthy guilt or healthy shame. We want the healthy guilt, the healthy shame. We want the pain of this to energize him to make a good repair, to do something different than what he's doing. So it's like I'm choosing the bottle over them. I don't want to be that guy. Wow. If I had one more, I would be reflecting that back. Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that sacrifices his wife and his kids over something that isn't even working. You know that people do that, and you don't want to be that guy. And what's he going to say next? He's probably going to say, my father was that way. Yeah, I can. Now, that's a little bit of my story, but it's pretty predictable that that would be, or he might say, yeah, my brother or my friend. He's referencing somebody here. Right. And if he, yeah, if he said, yeah, my father was that way, I, I might evoke more change talk by saying, yeah, tell me about that. Yeah, your father was that way. How was he that way? Right. Because we already know he doesn't want to be that guy. So resistance has been down since the second interaction. It's been at 1 the whole time. It never went up. That's great. Good job, Scott. We've got all this change talk, right? All the feedback is up here. So we've got 8 reflections, ratio of 8 to 0, no questions. Now, that's just me. You are welcome to ask questions. It's the reliance on questions over the reliance on reflective, empathic reflections that winds up increasing resistance rather than decreasing it. So I would encourage you, if you're coming from a question-based model, which much of healthcare is, see if you could maybe challenge yourself. First, you have to know the difference between a question and a reflection. You have to see that. Then challenge yourself to make reflections. Then challenge yourself to make increasingly complex reflections. And here we've got Dar. So he's getting ready to make a change. He's got strong desires, strong reasons, strong need, not a whole lot on ability. I will do a video on that next time. I hope this was interesting to you. This was kind of fun for me. Again, I think the first time the thing where I was challenging myself. I wasn't just testing it to see if it was working properly, but I really wanted to see what it would be like, and I was glad for the 5 out of 5. So if you get motivated by scores like that, like I do, the little kid in me, yay! So hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, a great rest of the week. Any questions? Just shoot me an email. I'd be glad to answer them. Any ideas on how this could be an even better experience for you, please let me know. Have a good one. Bye-bye.